Biz Manners. Here, we are looking at how to answer questions about the key management role of planning. Planning refers to the process of setting objectives and deciding on the methods to achieve them. A possible exam or SAT question is as follows. Many large-scale organisations use a multi-stage planning process in order to achieve their objectives. Explain each of the steps in this process. 5 marks. For this question, let's look at our usual points that need noting. The question asks you to explain how a multi-stage planning process helps achieve the objectives of the organisation. So you will need to be familiar with both the different aspects of a multi-stage planning process and the typical objectives of LSOs. To best answer this question, we are going to begin with an introductory statement before going through each of the 5 stages of the multi-stage planning process whilst linking it to the objectives of an LSO. Here's what your response might look like. Planning is the process of setting objectives and deciding on what methods to achieve them. This can occur in large-scale organisations so as to meet their objectives and is done by implementing 5 steps. The first stage of the planning process is that the organisation sets the objectives that they hope to achieve. This is so the organisation knows what they are working towards achieving, and these objectives could be either financial or social objectives. The second stage of the process is analysing the current situation. This is done by conducting a SWOT analysis, analysing the organisation's internal strengths and weaknesses, and the external opportunities and threats. This shows an organisation what needs to be done to achieve objectives and how this could be done. The third planning process step involves developing and evaluating alternative strategies. Through the data gained from the SWOT analysis, managers are able to develop ideas on how they will be able to achieve their objectives. The fourth stage of the planning process is implementing the developed plan. From the alternatives, managers are able to select the most effective strategy to achieve the objectives and implement it within operations. The final stage involves monitoring and reviewing the results achieved. The organisation must determine whether or not the implemented strategy was effective in achieving the organisation's objectives, and whether changes must occur to ensure improvement in doing this. Whilst this question is definitely on the longer side, it does give the most comprehensive response possible to the question. A failure to correctly identify the planning process, or incorrectly identifying specific stages, will result in a loss of marks. Also, merely naming the stages will not get you full marks. You could also be asked a number of much more straightforward questions related to planning, such as a simple definition of what is meant by the term planning, explaining the responsibilities of a manager when conducting the role of planning, distinguishing between the different types of planning, and finally, outlining what is meant by a SWOT analysis. Thanks for watching and happy studying!